Hello class, and welcome to this Final Fight walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and Final Fight, for my money, is one of the greatest beat-em-up games of all time. I love that we're just this hulking mayor that sets out to take back his city. You know, a lot of politicians talk being tough on crime. No one is tougher on crime than Mike Haggar. Sometime in the 1990s, this sets up so well in this game, gets you fired up. Very cinematic, this intro right here. I believe you know who I am. The caller on the other side says, it's always a good idea to self-identify yourself when you call somebody, because right here, who is this? That's embarrassing for that random thug. Just assuming the mayor knows. He's a busy man. As we update our Rescue the Princess trope list of all the games we've done classes on, which involve just that trope of rescuing the damsel in distress. But in terms of difficulty, and then Cody's here too. I always like that little, oh, what? My hot girlfriend's been kidnapped. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to give Final Fight a 6 out of 10. On the frustration scale, this equates to biting down and then throwing your controller across the room, probably around Abigail, those later stages in the game. But don't worry, we have the strategies to help you get through this game without using any continues, without losing too many lives. Gary's got your boss beaters, and this kid is trapped in a very awkward situation with Damned and Sodom. Sorry, kid, I would be a little uncomfortable in an elevator with the two of them as well. Japanese commercials are crazy. Let's run the intro and get into this Final Fight walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Pay so much money to see that game, but as we get into it, we have the choice between Cody and Haggar. We'll have strategies for both. We're going to go with Haggar because it's a lot more fun to play with him. As you take a look at the controls for Final Fight, all the basic moves you can see right here. Haggar's got that extra move, the pile driver, which is fun to use, not the most practical in terms of strategy. In terms of strategy in this Final Fight walkthrough, here's the Briggs notes. First, keep your enemies in front of you. Don't get surrounded. If you ever do, use that super of Y and B together. Use the punch, grab, toss combo. This will buy you some time, keep the enemies away from you. And lastly, if you really want to have the best shot at beating this game without losing any lives, or just have the easiest go of it, go with Cody and use the turbo combo. You can see it in action right here. It basically involves a couple punches, turn away, turn back. They can't break out of it. We'll talk about it more later. But now, with a look at the items of Final Fight, here's Blaze. All right, let's talk about the basic items you can pick up in Final Fight. First, we have a number of items which are worth different point totals. The hat, the radio, and the hammer. You'd think the hammer, one of the more practical items it should have been, but all these are worth 1,000 points. And you have the dollar, the yen, and the dime, all worth 3,000. The necklace and the ring, 5,000. And the diamonds and the gold, be on the lookout. Pick up one of these for 10,000. You're half the way to a new life. And then we have different items which can replenish our health at different amounts. First, giving us back just about 1/9 of our health. We have the gum, the root beer, and the vitamin. Then a quarter of our health can be recovered by grabbing the fruit of the game, the apples, the bananas, and the grapes. Half your health back for pizza, hamburgers, and curry. I'm not sure what sort of nutritional statements that Capcom's trying to make here when the fruit is worth so little comparatively. And a full restore of your health can be had if you pick up the barbecue. Delicious. I don't even care if it comes out of a barrel. Get me that barbecue. It's a lifesaver in some instances. Thank you, Blaze. And now with tips on Thrasher, here is Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Alright, Thrasher, I've got strategies on all these bosses, whether you're using Cody or Haggar. Just spoiler alert. Usually the strategy for Cody revolves around, like the professor mentioned, using that stun lock combo of getting a couple punches in, turning away, and then coming back in and just keeping that pattern up. Always keeping that boss stunned. Gets a little hairier when there's more enemies on the screen, but if you're Haggar, you want to come in, grab him from the top so he can't get a hit on you. Do your triple headbutt if possible. If you drop him, like all bosses, just kind of back away and repeat. When he whistles, wait a couple seconds as he's about to jump off, and then after a couple seconds, move to the left, he'll jump, you'll avoid getting kicked. Just repeat this strategy, the headbutts are very effective, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, the Cody Turbo Punch, it really is just, it's the OP way of doing it. Did that one ever since I was a kid when I'd play this game. Although, more recently when I'd play it as an adult, it's just, like I said in the opening, it's so much more fun to play as Haggar, all his wrestling style moves, just slamming guys into the ground. But now with a look at the weapons of this game, here's Blaze. Alright, the weapons of Final Fight. Not a whole lot. They come in two categories, the pipes and the swords, which are good for Haggar. He can wield these very quickly, do some big damage with them. Cody can pick them up too and do big damage. He just wields them a lot more slowly. Cody's better with his daggers, whereas Haggar picks one up, doesn't know what to do with it, just immediately throws it. If you're close enough to an enemy and you're lined up with him with Cody, you can just keep stabbing. Just gotta be very accurate and very close to your enemies, otherwise you'll throw it away as well. But there you go. The weapons you can pick up in Final Fight. Thank you very much, Blaze. Yes, definitely hold on to the pipes, the katanas. You think the katana would do more damage than the pipe, given that it's a katana? But not in the world of Final Fight, apparently. You know what I noticed about Metro City is we haven't seen a single resident. It's been entirely Mad Gear gang members. A lot of these guys, Haggar's just destroying unprovoked. They're just, on their commute trying to get home, and he's just picking them up from their seats and slamming them into the ground. Might be problematic in the next election, but I guess if you kill everyone, you're just de facto the mayor. Let's go to Fluff now for our first Fluff fact about Final Fight.
Final Fight's got some of the more interesting regional differences of the games we've covered. The arcade and Japanese Super Famicom versions are pretty similar, but the game was heavily censored and modified for the international Super Nintendo version. In fact, I've got a whole list of funny changes, so let's get into them. Most folks know this first one, but many of the bosses' names were deemed inappropriate by Western Nintendo censors. Specifically, the first and second bosses, Thrasher and Katana, were renamed from Damned and Sodom respectively, for obvious reasons. The vicious lady baddies Poison and Roxy were made to be a couple male punks in Billy and Sid, as I guess Nintendo didn't like the idea of players beating up on women in self-defense or otherwise. I guess Nintendo also preferred players beat up on slightly lighter-skinned baddies, as Doug and Simons each have slightly darker skin in the Japanese release. In terms of graphic content, hitting enemies with a weapon in the Japanese release results in a small blood animation popping up on the screen. This was replaced with a more generic, comic book-like explosive effect in the American release. The statues in one of the final levels show a lot more cleavage in the Japanese version too. The bar sign was changed to a more generic club to discourage any acknowledgement to alcohol in the American version. The guy whose car you whoop up on in the first bonus stage exclaims, "Oh my god," in the Japanese version. But due to Nintendo's religious censorship policy, it was changed to a more generic, "Oh my car," in America. And perhaps best of all, Belger is in a more obvious wheelchair in the Japanese version, but not loving the idea that players were beating up on a disabled man, Nintendo had this changed to a motorized-looking executive chair in America. Whew, take the training wheels off already, Nintendo of America.
I agree, Fluff, thanks. Yeah, it'd be a few more years before they eased up those rules. There's always a barbecue in this barrel right here. 9 times out of 10, the item placement is completely random as to what you'll get from a barrel, if anything, but there are a number of spots in this game where you're guaranteed a certain item in a certain place, usually with barbecue, at much needed times. There's also some hidden item locations, which we'll cover a little bit later, but you'll notice some of the body slams and moves like that tend to do less damage. It's kind of a weird system with the closer someone is to death, a lot of times, unless you hit a certain threshold, they're not going to die. We'll talk more about that on the other side of this. For right now, we have a very tricky boss to cover, so let's go back to Gary.
Boss beaters. Right, Katana. Very tricky boss right here. Again, if you're Cody and you can get that stun lock combo in, you can take him all the way down. It just takes a while. For Haggar, you want to grab him from the top and do that triple headbutt when possible, and then move diagonally to him, when he's on the canvas. You'll see when he puts his head down, he's about to charge. Just wait a second when he has his head down and then start moving across him to avoid damage as he'll come towards where you just were standing. Grab him again, repeat the strategy, take down this very tricky boss.
Thank you, Gary. Yes, very difficult, especially if you're going at him with Haggar, as most of the bosses are, unless you can stun lock him. This one's a bit easier when you're Cody because you don't have any enemies sneaking up behind you like the other boss battles, but here we just have to wreck this car. If you're Cody, just smack it with your combo. Keep smacking it until the sound effect changes. That's how you know you're done with that area. Just hit the top left, the bottom left, and then just go to the top right. Keep smacking once you're done the left side, and that'll finish it off. And we'll get the censored "Oh my car" in this situation, as Fluff mentioned. The guy comes in.
Oh my car.
Can't count on that guy's vote in November, but anyway. So we're on to the west side. Plenty of dudes to deal with in this area. The damage, as we were getting into a bit earlier, you'll find that when someone has full health, when they have, let's say, a full yellow meter, one of your more powerful attacks, like the pile driver or the body slam, the back slam, these do a lot more damage when they have full health, and they start to sort of have the damage as they get a little bit lower. It's a little cheap like that. The only thing which still does the damage which it's meant to in pretty much all situations is that triple headbutt or triple knee move, where you just grab them and just use the attack button 3 times to do increasingly powerful attacks. The problem with that is we're always being surrounded by enemies. It's very rare when you take on an enemy one-on-one. There's the club sign right there, not the bar sign. But when you can get an enemy one-on-one, the triple knee or the triple headbutt, that's the way to go. And with another Fluff fact about this particular scene right here, here's Fluff.
One more difference as it pertains to this scene. There's meant to be a group of people standing at the bar, including a bartender, but due to a layering error in both the Japanese and American releases of Final Fight, they don't appear. This was finally fixed for the European release, so you could see this scene how it was meant to appear with a bit more of a crowd. Later on in the stage, there's another instance of this, which was only fixed in the European release as well.
Very interesting. Usually the Japanese version has that sorted out, and we're the ones that get the short end of the stick, but it's the Europeans that enjoyed that extra bit of animation there. So we're enjoying our pipe in this situation, just trying not to get surrounded. And yeah, there it goes, disappears. Kind of randomly. Sometimes you can get it knocked out of your hand multiple times and have it stick around. Other times it can disappear immediately. Doesn't seem to be related to use. Just another random occurrence in this game. So we have a sort of mini boss battle right here. Not going to bring in Gary, but basically, once again, the strategy if you're Cody is to use that stun lock. But if you're Haggar, pick up the sword and do the back slam for the closer of the Andores. I guess that's the Grandpa Andore or Gary Andore, I don't know. And kind of slam them to the right, because these guys, like most bosses in this game, they give them a little bit of invincibility once they get up off of the floor. So in this case, if we keep him to the right from the start, that gives us enough time to reset once they get to us, to stab him with that sword. And that's how you get through that cage match with the Andore family unscathed. Pretty effective. We're going to bring in Blaze for a bit of an overview on the different enemies of Final Fight, the different strategies and things to be aware of with each of them. Once we have a longer stretch in the next level, which is probably the longest level in the game, the next one. We always get a barbecue right here. Want to make sure that we clear the screen of all enemies, make sure we're not about to start a new cycle before we pick up that barbecue. Enemies always come in waves. You can only go so far, and then you have to defeat all the enemies before you can move on. A lot of times if you hang back and the game is telling you that you can progress forward, but you still have enemies coming, if you move all the way to the right to advance the screen, sometimes you can get away with actually scrolling an enemy or two off of the screen. It's not very reliable, but it is a possibility. Done that with an Andore or two in preparing for this class. Hate that kick. Yeah, Blaze is gonna talk about, and there we go, lost another life there. That's all right. Much more difficult to get a no-death run with Haggar in this one, but with tips on the next boss, here's Gary.
Boss beaters. Right, Eddie. Once again, Cody's stun lock combo is very effective, as Haggar coming from the top and grab him, do that triple headbutt. Note that when his health goes into the yellow, that's when he's going to pull out his gun. He'll only shoot you if he has enough distance. If you're close enough to him, he'll try to run away. So make sure you're very close to him, grab him whenever you can, and get those triple headbutts in, the knees, whatever you want to use at this point if you're Cody. And yeah, you'll take him down.
You see right here, as we do take him down, that full-bodied man had like a dragon heart situation going on with Edi E. Always a mistake. Don't do the dragon. Never dragon heart style tie yourself to another person. Especially when Haggar's in the area. It's just going to end in your demise. Again, unprovoked, at least for that first J. Just hanging out, enjoying his evening by the waterfront. Maybe there's a law against loitering, but anyway. Let's bring in Blaze now that we have a long stretch of a level to talk about the enemies of Final Fight. Alright, let's cover the basic enemies you will find in Final Fight. First, we have the most basic of the basic. You know, your Brads, or Breads, excuse me, your Dougs, your Jakes, your Simons. They all move very slowly, use very basic moves. These are lower priority enemies when they're on the screen, as far as you're concerned. Higher priority, we have the quicker enemies, the 2Ps. The J's, these guys that wear their hoodies, they come up really quick. They don't do a lot of damage, but they're very smart. They wait until you're otherwise engaged with different enemies, and they'll move in quickly and strike. You want to prioritize, always have an eye on these enemies. Then we have the big hits, the guys that land big hits on you, slash the members of Guns N' Roses. And I say slash advisedly because one of them is named Slash, the other Axel. They'll also kind of wait until you're preoccupied, and then they'll sneak up behind you and land an absolutely devastating blow. They also block your hits if you're far enough away, or in general, so if you're close enough, do the punch and grab combo that the professor talked about. Toss them, do the backdrop technique, very effective for taking them down, but keep your eye on them. Next, we have the full-bodied enemies, your Wong Hoos, your Bilbols, your G Arribers. You want to watch out, these guys like to charge at you if you give them enough distance, so you want to stay close. Be ready to move up or down if they start charging at you at different speeds. Yeah, they're kind of dangerous once they get moving, but keep them close. Next, we have the knife guys, your Elgatos, your Hollywoods, your Ryan Goslings. They'll try to stab you with or toss a knife at you from afar. Sometimes they even drop in from the sky unaccountably, but watch out for these guys. Pick up their knives if they drop them, especially if you're Cody. Next, we have the skinny punks, your Sids, your Billies. They like to move relatively quickly, and they love their jump kicks. Keep them close, do the combo, take them down. And lastly, we have Andore and presumably the son he's proud of, and Andore Jr. They love to charge at you if you give them room. You want to stay close and combo them as well. Be careful if you're knocked down by other enemies or the Andores themselves, because they love to jump on you when you're on the ground. Make sure you pop back up quickly, smash those buttons, and use your emergency spin move when you fall on the ground with one of them around. Thank you, Blaze. Useful information for all of them. Again, just goes back to never get surrounded in this game. That's just asking for trouble. Keep everyone in front of you, and that's why we do that combo, to get a couple punches in, grab them, and then body slam them to the other side so that we can just kind of resituate the enemies in our life, in our general proximity. As we enter the very disgusting bathroom, I realize crime is a problem. Probably takes priority over cleaning up the bathrooms. You gotta clean up the streets first, metaphorically speaking. But maybe a close job number 2, if we have any kind of budget. At the very least, we have to be saving money on a police force, right? Best I can tell, we don't employ any police officers in the city. Hopefully Edi E was not on the payroll, being that he tried to kill us. But yeah, we're single-handedly doing all the work right here. But I digress. Let's go to Fluff for another Fluff fact about Final Fight. Fluff?
There's a very subtle Easter egg hidden in Final Fight, which is a nod to one of the developers. Picking up the third boss, Edi E's gum, If you have full life, the player will be awarded with 42,910 points. This number equates to designer Akira Nishitani's birthday, September 10th of Showa 42. On the Japanese calendar, the year Showa 42 is the equivalent to 1967, so it's a very subtle Easter egg, but a nod to Nishitani.
Good call, Fluff. I'm curious if someone discovered that on their own and made that connection, or if someone from Capcom had to maybe explain the strange point total right there. But either way, good find. With these flame-throwing guys, I like to grab the one on the bottom and then just kind of body slam them away from me, or back slam them, I should say, and then move in the opposite direction to stay clear of that fire. Don't have to worry about the ones above or below you. And like a pitcher working a no-hitter as I jinx it right now. We've been holding on to the sword for a very long time. This has been nice. I guess in this case we were on the top, so we'll body slam that guy. These guys' sole job is to come in, throw some fire, and they still screw it up by running through the flames and killing themselves in the process. I mean, I don't want to tell Mad Gear how to do their jobs, but just a little more training. Just saying. Just slam this guy away, move to the left. Nice and safe. Sometimes the third guy doesn't show up. This is always a tough stretch. This whole entire level, it's basically just a showcase of different blocks of enemies. We had the... Alright then. Oh, my sword's still here. There you go. And now it's gone. Alright. Got to hold on to it for... Where are these guys dropping in from? There are helicopters above us? Completely unnecessary, by the way, but... Yeah, always have to be aware of these guys once you're lined up with tossing a dagger across the screen like they did right there. Yeah, we had the full-body guys section earlier. Had the Billy and other punk-type guys section. And there's another one right there. These guys they're very sneaky. There's not really, outside of the Breads, the Simons, that breed of guy, just the very basic enemies. All the other types of enemies are very difficult in their own ways. They all find their own ways of being the sand in the gears. Hate that we throw the dagger through the guy. You can see the half damage rule being applied right there with the body slams. Or the back slams, I should say. Every time we get 3 barrels, whether they're coming towards us or just stationary, I like to use that special move to knock them all at once. Let this roast sit here on the ground for just a second, and we'll bring back in Fluff right now for one more Fluff fact about Final Fight.
They say in the intro that Haggar was a former Street Fighter. Street Fighter is, of course, another popular franchise from Capcom, and in fact, Final Fight initially had the working title of Street Fighter 89, and it was meant to be a sequel to the original fighting game Street Fighter. When it became clear that this beat-em-up title didn't have that much in common with Street Fighter in terms of gameplay, the name was changed.
Thank you, Fluff. I can't believe that Haggar has never appeared in a Street Fighter game. As far as I know, class, feel free to correct me if he has. And I just missed it, but I know he's got kind of a Zangief type moveset, I suppose, but such a cool character. I mean, come on. A mayor that single-handedly cleans up the streets of his city. Just wears some pants and like a overall type. He's got his own style. I gotta say, there's the Big and Tall store, and then there's the Haggar store. I think the sales associate at the Big and Tall store laughed Haggar out of the store. Haggar, of course, pile-drived him to death on his way out, but yeah, he's definitely got his own look that he's rocking right there. Tiny head, giant body. Love those proportions. Coming up on arguably the most difficult boss in the game right now, so we'll see what Gary recommends for this one. Obviously, different strategies will apply whether you're playing as Haggar or Cody, but Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, Abigail gets my award for toughest boss in Final Fight. He's very difficult to successfully do a lot of things too. If you're even remotely close to him, he'll probably automatically grab you, toss you up in the air. Cody's stun lock combo can work well if the other enemies aren't giving you fits. You might have to come back from the dead and use your temporary invincibility to actually get this in on him sometimes. With Haggar coming from the top, do your triple headbutt just at the start. And then for the most part, those jump kicks are the safest technique to make sure that he can't get a hit on you. Make sure you use these at max distance for best results. Otherwise, when he's charging at you, especially without turning red, he'll probably get a hit off on you if you're too late. So be very careful, and good luck taking down Abigail.
Yeah, I second that when he charges at you without the red face, he's a lot more dangerous. With the red, if you time up your punch well, you can actually get those hits in fairly easily, no matter what strategy you want to use. I like obviously a couple punches in the grab combo. And there we go. Down goes Abigail. Very tricky boss to take down without losing a life, particularly with Haggar, but there you go. Bay Area is clear. We now have the glass factory to break for some reason. I feel like we've gotten out most of our pent-up aggression by killing hundreds of people. But I don't know, he's an angry man. They took his daughter. Strategy here is to align pretty much with the center of the glass, do a jump kick from distance. You don't have to get right up on it. You save more time by doing it that way. If you hit it too low, you'll just spin the glass around. It's one of the most frustrating feelings imaginable on the SNES, so no one to come in and say, oh, my glass. Guess no one really cared. We probably already killed them, whoever worked there, but we have 3 barrels right here from the start, so we can use our special. It becomes difficult when we have a lot of animation on the screen at once. The barrels are frame grabbing enough, but then you add in some other enemies and it becomes a little more difficult to pull off. It's the same problem we have when we're trying to get some of our attacks off in different situations, like on some bosses. It's going to be a problem with the Cody strategy when we get to the final boss in this game, but I always like grabbing dudes and walking backwards, getting those reverse pile drivers in. And we get it off right there. We got our nice whole meal right there. Got some bananas, some grapes, some barbecue. Could have a little picnic if anyone was left alive at the end. Maybe Jessica and Cody can all get together. For Haggar, I'm not sure I appreciate Cody in this version while we're playing as him. Just kind of sitting around, and he seemed concerned. It's a nice backwards one. He seemed concerned in the intro, but yeah. Talk is cheap, Cody. Walk right through the chandelier the poorly maintained chandelier. Again, that's on the to-do list. Not quite as high as cleaning up those bathrooms at the waterfront, but I'm gonna leave this barbecue as long as we can. That's the last guy. Now we go over here to it's meant to be an elevator, but it always never looked as such when I was playing this as a kid, have to say, but that's alright. Get a nice mix of enemies at this stage in the game, throwing a little bit of everything. Like to stagger those Andores, take down Andore Jr. before Papa Andore shows up. Sometimes you unaccountably drop them too. There's not really a good strategy or reasoning why as to why you drop them. There's not like a good timing that you can get into. It does seem to be completely random. But when you can get those triple headbutts in, it's the most devastating attack one-on-one, as I mentioned earlier. Get some sun here. Good idea to use the special right off the bat in this section once you reach that point, because you're on the train tracks at that stage, and yeah, got a whole bunch of full-bodied men coming through. That kind of looks like Jason Kelsey a little bit, Bill Bull. Again, we'd like to be able, yeah, I hate that kid. We're still alive, but there's no restorative items until the very end of this stretch, so that's probably not going to happen. This is a very difficult stretch to get through without losing a life. Especially when you've got none showing, you don't have a special you can use. When you have 0 health showing, you cannot use your special. Every time we use it and it makes contact, it eats a little bit into it. Played a little too loose with Andore there. Get our triple headbutt in while we're still temporarily invincible. Pretty much always a good idea to use that break glass special move when you're being punched by an enemy. You can see you want to pop out quick when they use that dive move like Blaze mentioned, but anytime an enemy gets one hit in on you, then you can generally assume there's going to be a second. It's just kind of the brain works in that way that you know that it's going to cost you some health to use that move, but knowing that you're probably going to get hit too if you don't use the move is going to cost you more health, so it's really just how quickly your brain moves in that situation, but usually a safe move to use that special in that situation. Let's bring in Fluff now for one last Fluff fact about Final Fight.
Abigail's look was heavily influenced by Danish heavy metal musician King Diamond, particularly the face paint. His name is even a reference to King Diamond's record of the same name, Abigail, which came out a couple years before development in 1987. Another one, which is more obvious, are the more common Andore and Andore Jr. enemies, which were modeled after the famed 7'4" French wrestler Andre the Giant, both in the face and in their wrestling style garb.
Thank you, Fluff. Yep, that's fun. A lot of rock influences, and not just as a lot of the games of the late 80s and early 90s. You forget how influential now that we are 30 plus years removed from that time. When we take down the last guy, make sure you're picking up items or trying to right here and right here. There's some hidden items, especially get that barbecue between the points items right there. But yeah, how influential that just rock music in general was around that time. Unlike today, but fun little nods. Again, we're going to keep this barbecue as long as possible. Make sure you don't get knocked over to the right to scroll it off the screen. Might not even need it. Not with a Doug around, not too worried about a Doug or a Simons. Really bothers me that his name is Simons, by the way. Is it just me? Or do you desperately want his name to be Simmons? We're in pretty good shape though here in terms of lives. Much better than when I did a Let's Burn on this game over on Let's Burn with Brigands. Rare shout out to that channel. When I hadn't run the game obsessively like I did for this class. Some chandelier curry right here. As we all know, the healing properties of curry, not quite to the scale of barrel barbecue, but we'll take it. Chandelier curry still has a place in the average mayor's diet. Ripped mayor, excuse me. Not your average mayor. Let's see how long we can hold on. Yeah, it was 8 lives now, plus we get 0, so technically 9. Yeah, going back and forth works well enough for... We have another triple barrel situation here. Soda, some cash, barbecue. Yeah, the back and forth works with certain enemy types, but the faster moving ones... In that case, you can't just kind of punch left and right. Maybe if you're Cody, you can get away with it, but yeah, we always want to force enemies to one side or the other. Or just use their falling slam damage as we're throwing them or slamming them, in the case of Cody or Haggar respectively. We're using that to take down some enemies on the other side of us at the same time. Works quite well. Just getting 2 this time. Got a nice hat. Not gonna wear it. He's self-conscious about his tiny head. See how long we can hold on to the sword this time. Not very long. Should have seen that coming. Had plenty of time to react. It's always just a good idea to default into that special move situation. Okay, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna end up using less health through the special move than if you don't use it and probably take the damage. So Axel tried to get a hit off there. That would have been an instant death. I could kind of buy the, when we were doing the waterfront level, that these guys were dropping in from the ceiling or the sky. Not sure where they're coming from now. These are, what, 12, 15 at most foot ceilings, so... Unless they've just been holding on the entire time through all 5 stages, just waiting for me to show up right here. Grab an apple for a quarter of our health back right there. Better than nothing, I suppose. Let's check in on Cody's playthrough, see how he's doing. He's at about the same stage. Our first ever simul class right here. Did a recording of this in addition to the Haggar one ahead of time so that we could have both playthroughs without commentary as we always do, just as a note in case you ever want to see these playthroughs without the tips, the strategies, just the gameplay itself. Then we offer those as well. So I wanted to show both playthroughs, both the Cody and the Haggar. Not only is it two different play styles, I lost a life there, but it's just, as I said, it's just a very fun game, and it's one of the best beat 'em ups. It's sort of just improved upon the formula that games like Double Dragon established on the NES, previous arcade games, and yeah, just it's as fun to pick up and play today as it was in the early 90s, and that's a very nice compliment you can give a game. So, have this little final stretch, and we'll be in the actual final stretch of this game, where there's more hidden restorative items to be had, thankfully. We just hold on here, don't let this Hollywood. Let's do the jump kick, the safest move in the game. Or just grab him if he's not going to line up with us. So there are a number of restorative items behind these columns here. Just go to about the middle. You can see we get a barbecue right there. There's more food to be had in the next few. They do not show up until the screen advances, so we'll see as we come up on the next one here. We got some grapes in waiting, that's nice. Always good to have some food. They're waiting for us in case we take some damage. Love the headbutt when you can get it in, it's so rare. Grab the diamond right there. There should be a pizza behind the next one. There we go. And then the next one's not going to trigger until, you can see it would be right about here. The lunge move. Very rare lunge move. Does the least amount of damage out of any move, I think. It's the equivalent to Cody's kind of knee drop in the air. Not very effective. Just gotta stay alive to advance the screen here and then grab. And then magically, alright, another diamond. But I think behind this next one there should be something else waiting for us. Let's just see if we can not get hit as we try to pick it up. Saw him moving in. There we go. Got some curry. That'll top us off. Sending in the big folks right here. Your Giaribers, your Andores. Equally dangerous, the different Andores. Just the senior Andore, or Andore standard, vanilla. Maybe strawberry, better said, with that pink outfit. But they certainly mix in some tricky enemy combos at this stage. Just combinations you wouldn't think would be that difficult, but when you have to account for both sides, you have an Andorra, you have Sids and Billies hopping around, trying to drop their foot on your skull. It's a dangerous time to be mayor of, well, any city. Nothing behind this column, but we do have one final chandelier barbecue, which you want to pick up. Got lucky there, as Andore Jr. was excited to make his entrance. Yeah, that punch-punch-grab combo never gets old. You gotta do a few more punches to do the same thing with Cody to get his throw, and it throws him farther across the room. In some ways, Haggar's better because he keeps the enemies a little bit closer so that you can immediately turn right back around and do the same thing again, but, you know, different styles. But anyway, final boss, Gary, bring it home.
Boss beaters. Right, Belger, the final boss and final fight. The real challenge with Belger is the frame rate hit that the game inflicts upon you when there's other enemies on the screen. So you can't just do Cody's stun lock combo, because he'll fire those kind of darts up into the air. They'll come down and hit you more often than not. So you want to prioritize avoiding Belger, just kind of moving up and down as he'll keep jumping around. When he jumps and he's in the air, just give him a punch, put him on the ground, and use that 1 second that you have while he's getting back up to take down whatever enemy else is around on the screen at that point. They only bring in one at a time, and there's only about 6 of them. When you get that final Sid-like character, that's the final bad guy, which is coming in. At this point, you can just use the punch, grab, and toss technique, or backdrop if you're using Haggar at this stage, and keep up this strategy, knock him out of the glass, and take him down.
Fantastic glitch. That's a first for me right there, actually. I'm quite proud of that. By design, Belger, when he gets into the yellow, he always goes to the right side of the screen, but if you can keep him there on the left, I've always been curious as to what would happen. So we get some fake glass breaking on the left-hand side. Just fantastic. But anyway, there you go. Final fight. Rescued Jessica. Cody did nothing, at least in this timeline. But we still get to enjoy the cool ending of Cody walking off into the sunset on his own. I love the music they played too. Thought I lost you like I lost your mother. Jessica's like, Mom's fine. She's back at home, wondering when you're going to be coming home. Completely unaware that he's been elected mayor and has killed the entirety of the population of Metro City. But there you go. There's your standard. We're not going to tell you who works for us because our games are so good. We don't want our people to be poached. Ending credits right there. But that's fine. Again, you did nothing, Cody. We will have that playthrough go up alongside the Haggar one without the commentary and all the additions from the rest of the TAs today. Thank you to all my TAs, by the way, today. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. We do one of these classes every single week. We'd love to have you enrolled. Click that like button if you don't mind. Really does help us out to keep making future classes for you, and leave a comment. What are your thoughts on this game? Do you prefer Cody or Haggar, actually? I'm kind of curious. I feel like most folks are going to side with Haggar just because of his moveset. Does more damage on average, but there you go. Cody, given he's kind of the Ryu of Final Fight. Granted, there's only 2 characters, but yeah, he's not in for not for the trophies. Not saying that Jessica's a trophy, even though, anyway, but yeah, he just likes to beat up people. He's very much like your dad in that way, Jessica, but anyway, that's our time this week. We'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class, right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.